I am continuing my reading. What I'm doing in this series is to read through the entire standard works of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. This consists of the Bible, the Book of Mormon, the Doctrine and Covenants, and the Pearl of Great Price. I am reading in a chronological order of events, not according to publication or volume, so I will be skipping around a bit as I move along. So I'm returning back to the histories. Not for long, but we're going to read a little bit in the histories. Remember now, just as a refresher, Uzziah, good king in Judah. He reigned for 52 years. Now during the ending of his life, he got a little prideful, tried to take over or tried to burn incense to the Lord, and the Lord cursed him for his presumption. And his last 4 years, he was cursed with leprosy. During his reign, we had great turmoil in the north. Jeroboam dies. His son, Zechariah, is king for only 6 months before he is murdered by Shallum, who is then murdered a month later by Menahem, who reigns for 10 years. But then Menahem's son, Pekahiah, rules for only 2 years before he is murdered by Pekah, who takes over and rules for 20. Well, during Pekah's reign, Tiglath-Pileser of Assyria comes in and starts taking over, conquers about half of the northern kingdom. Pekah is then killed by Hoshea, who takes over and reigns, I believe, for 12 years. Pekah became king in the last year of Uzziah when Jotham becomes king in Judah. While Jotham is king, there's a lot of discrepancy and difficulty with the timeline in this area where there's contradictions, and so we're not really exactly sure how it plays out. But Jotham is king for 16 years. He dies, and Ahaz becomes king, and that's where we're left off. Pekah is dead. Hoshea is king in Israel, and Jotham and Ahaz is king in Judah. Or we're going to get into the reign of Ahaz in Judah, and then we will read a little bit about Hoshea in Israel. So this will be 2 Kings chapter 16, and we will read the first 16 verses. Ahaz reigns in wickedness in Judah. He offers his son in heathen sacrifice. He makes a new altar, destroys the brazen sea, and changes the order of sacrifice in the temple. In the 17th year of Pekah, the son of Remaliah, Ahaz, the son of Jotham, king of Judah, began to reign. 20 years old was Ahaz when he began to reign, and reigned 16 years in Jerusalem, and did not that which was right in the sight of the Lord his God, like David his father. But he walked in the way of the kings of Israel, yea, and made his son to pass through the fire, according to the abominations of the heathen, whom the Lord cast out from before the children of Israel. And he sacrificed and burnt incense in the high places, and on the hills, and under every green tree. So here we have it. When it says to pass through the fire, this is to Moloch, and it was a burning babies alive as sacrifice to the heathen god. That's what it's talking about. So he is a very evil man. Human sacrifice is one of the worst things you can do. Child sacrifice is just horrifying. So let us continue. Verse 5. Then Rezin, king of Syria, and Pekah, son of Remaliah, king of Israel, came up to Jerusalem to war, and they besieged Ahaz, but could not overcome him. At that time Rezin, king of Syria, recovered Elath to Syria, and drave the Jews from Elath. And the Syrians came to Elath and dwelt there unto this day. So Ahaz sent messengers to Tiglath-Pileser, king of Assyria, saying, I am thy servant and thy son. Come up and save me out of the hand of the king of Syria, and out of the hand of the king of Israel, which rise up against me. And Ahaz took the silver and gold that was found in the house of the Lord and in the treasures of the king's house, and sent it for a present to the king of Assyria. And the king of Assyria hearkened unto him, for the king of Assyria went up against Damascus, and took it, and carried the people of it captive to Kir, and slew Rezin. So this might be telling us why Assyria came in and conquered Syria and Israel during the reign of Pekah. So Rezin and Pekah are coming in to invade Judah. Now Elath, that was the town that King Uzziah, first thing he did almost was to reclaim or to take the city of Elath and build it up and make it a strong city for Judah. Now Syria is coming in and they're taking it back. And Ahaz, he's turned to his idolatry, so he doesn't have the Lord to help him, and he calls on Assyria. And Assyria, he sends them all the present. He takes all the wealth out of the temple, out of the king's house, and he hires Assyria. And Assyria comes in and conquers Syria, and they conquer much of Israel at the same time. This seems to be, we read about during Pekah's days that Tiglath-Pileser came in and conquered a number of cities in Israel. So this seems to be what this is talking about. That the reason they came in at this time was because they were being hired by Ahaz. Verse 10, And King Ahaz went to Damascus to meet Tiglath-Pileser, king of Assyria, and saw an altar that was at Damascus. And King Ahaz sent to Urijah the high priest the fashion of the altar and the pattern of it, according to all the workmanship thereof. And Urijah the priest built an altar according to all that King Ahaz had sent from Damascus. So Urijah the priest made it against King Ahaz came from Damascus. And when the king was come from Damascus, the king saw the altar, and the king approached to the altar and offered thereon. And he burnt his burnt offering and his meat offering, and poured his drink offering, and sprinkled the blood of his peace offerings upon the altar. And he brought also the brazen altar, which was before the Lord, from the forefront of the house, from between the altar and the house of the Lord, and put it on the north side of the altar. And King Ahaz commanded Urijah the priest, saying, Upon the great altar burn the morning burnt offering, and the evening meat offering, and the king's burnt sacrifice, and his meat offering, with the burnt offering of all the people of the land, and of their meat offering, and their drink offerings, and sprinkle upon it all the blood of the burnt offering, and all the blood of the sacrifice, and the brazen altar shall be for me to inquire by. Thus did Urijah the priest, according to all that King Ahaz commanded. So Ahaz goes up to Damascus to meet with Tiglath-Pileser, and there he sees a heathen altar, and he just likes the way it looks. So he has Urijah build him one modeled after this one, and he replaces the brazen altar that the Israelites had made for the sacrifices of God. Now, you'll note, this is an interesting thing, because it still says he's doing all these sacrifices. These are the proper sacrifices of the law of Moses. And so he is again, like Israel, blending. He's not replacing the true worship of God with pagan heathen worship. He's blending the worship of God with the worship of idols. They didn't get rid of God, they just made him one of many. And he takes this and says, this is the new altar for the people to use, because he thought it looked more impressive. He wanted to impress the people, wanted the people to have this great opulent altar to show how great of a king he was. But the original brazen altar, he kept it so that he could personally, that was going to be his personal altar. So he had the fancy altar that he liked, one that he thought looked better for the public use, and then he kept the smaller altar for his personal use. And Urijah the high priest goes along with it all. He doesn't object. Now you could say, well, the king commanded him to, so he had to. But remember that under under Uzziah, when Uzziah went in to burn incenses, we had 80 priests come in and tell him to get out of the temple because it wasn't his place. Urijah, he's just, king ordered it, let's do it. So I gotta wonder just how faithful Urijah was as a priest. Anyways, we're going to leave that here. We will be reading some in 2 Chronicles next, and then we will be turning to the prophet Micah. So we will see you there.